There we go. Good morning, beloveds. I never know when it's actually on. So, and it does this weird whooshing noise if I don't immediately speak. So I'm caught between a rock and a hard place with this thing. It's social media. What are you going to do? Okay. I am awake, I think. It was raining. I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning because the cat was like, hey, it's time for you to get up and feed me. And I was like, no. So, but I did go to the bathroom, and I listened out the window and I was like, yep, it's raining. And I think it's raining now because not very hard, like it's just that light drizzle that we've had for a good bit of yesterday morning. Because I think it quit in the early afternoon. But the eaves there's like a line of drops and they're dripping fairly regularly. I'm like, it's probably raining. It's either that or there's that much moisture in the air because it has rained for 3 days. We're on our 4th day of, consecutive day of rain. And apparently tomorrow's when it's going to finally move out. Tuesday may be the first day we see the sun. Maybe tomorrow in the afternoon. We'll see. We'll see. All right. We are in the general summary, chapter 24 of the Science of Mind text. Just going to clean my glasses really quick just to make sure. Some days the light in here is really bright and some days not so much. And today it's not so much. My eyes are like, oh, I don't know about this. So the brighter the light, the better my vision is. It's not the way it is with everybody, though. All right. So we are in this book. We are on 414. We are actually getting really close. I think tomorrow we will finish the general summary. I'll be interested to see what his final conclusion is, because he's got a paragraph that's titled The Final Conclusion. So, all right. So, effective treatment must be independent of any existing circumstance whatsoever, else it will not enter the realm of an unconditioned causation. It will have fallen to the level of those secondary causes which seek to perpetuate themselves in human experiences. To rise above the contemplation of conditions is to enter into the field of causation, which makes all things new in our experience. From this viewpoint, there is no hard and no easy case to handle. All cases represent but different phases of human belief, and one would yield to the truth as quickly as another if we were sure of our spiritual position. That's the place that Jesse calls nothing, where nothing has ever been wrong. Where everything is exactly as it should be. Nothing has ever been wrong. Nothing can ever be wrong. Nothing will ever be wrong. That's where we want to go with our treatments. Thoughts are more than things. They are the cause of things. Things have no independent existence, since there can be nothing external to some comprehending mind. Our work is done in mind alone, and our other equipment is thought. And our entire equipment is thought and a knowledge of the power which it utilizes. The power is superior to the intellect in its creativeness. Foster made a cameo, I think. Only when we put our very best into our spiritual work will it satisfy us. A spiritual power is released through true thinking that is as much a law as is chemical affinity. There is no deliverance of the real self without mental conviction. To have faith in God is to follow this faith through by having faith in the self. The real self is God, and as such is to be implicitly trusted. The spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from the living and eternal flame of the Spirit. I like that he starts off that paragraph with, only when we put our very best into our spiritual work will it satisfy us. You can't well, you know what I was about to say. When you are doing this work, it's all in. It's all in. And if you're not feeling it, then you put a pin in it. You go and you do what you need to do, and come back and do it when you can go all in. There are going to be times when you sit down to do your spiritual work and you're like, you're not feeling it. And that's okay. Maybe you need a snack. Go get a snack. Maybe you need a nap. Spiritual work's hard to do when you're tired and cranky and hungry. So, you go, you take care of yourself, you do what you need to do, and you come back and you do the work. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Because trust me, there are moments when things have happened and you drop right into that state. You drop right into that state because there's nowhere else you can go. But when you're on the regular, and that's the point of spiritual practice. That's the point of spiritual practice. You do the spiritual work every day, and you practice every day. And if you're not feeling it, then you go and do what you need to do, so that when those moments happen, where the only thing you can do is the spiritual work, then the conditions that you're dealing with don't matter. Okay? So if you are doing your regular practice and you're not feeling it, put a pin in it. Go and do whatever it is that you need to do, and then come back and do it. And do that regularly, so that when those moments come up where that is all you can do, it is the only choice you have, then the conditions won't matter. Okay? So when you have the luxury of taking care of the conditions, take care of the conditions. Go take a nap, eat a snack, do something. Because it'll prepare you for the times when the conditions can't matter. All right? Okay. But the letter without the spirit does not quicken the flesh into newness of action. It is cold and unresponsive. Feeling is at the center of the universe and reflected through people's consciousness. And reflected through people's consciousness sheds its glow when wherever the thought travels. Law governs its action, and God itself fulfills its promise. I have a feeling that he left out. Feeling is at the center of the universe and reflected through people's consciousness. There should be a comma there. Sheds its glow wherever the thought travels. Okay, you know what? Occasionally the paragraphs are just weird. Earnest and punctuation. It's a thing. All right. There must come a time in our experience when we speak the conviction that is within us. This conviction is the spiritual universe in which we live is real and powerful. The light cannot be borrowed from another. Each has been furnished with a divine torch whose wick burns from the oil of the eternal and ever-renewing substance of faith in oneself and in others. It's one of those things where that paragraph is one of those things where we talk about holding space for, okay? When we treat for each other, we are holding space for. I cannot heal you. But what I can do is hold the space for you to recognize who you are, for you to find your own conviction, for you to touch that which is you that evokes the healing. We hold space for each other. No good can come to us unless it make its Sometimes there are typos. Okay. Hang on. Let me read this sentence quietly. Yeah, still. Okay. No good can come to us unless it makes its advent through the center of God consciousness, which we are. There's just not an S on the end of makes. So I put one there. The hope of destiny is latent in the slumbering thought, and genius lies buried until the attention is winged with love and reason. To help those in need is indeed a great privilege, but the blind cannot lead the blind. We must awake to the realization that a divine partnership has already been formed between the seen and the invisible. Okay, that's one of those paragraphs that I've read it now and I still don't. I know what he's talking about. He's like, teach what you know, because you can't teach what you don't know. So make sure that you're awake before you try and wake somebody else up. Unless there were a unifying principle of life existing as one all-embracing mind in which everyone lives and everything subsists, then we could not recognize each other. Indeed, we could not be conscious of living in the same world. This mind in which we live is at all times independent of any individual action on our part. We are in it and it flows through us, but it is always more than we are. That's his argument that if we weren't part of the same whole, we couldn't talk to each other. Our own presence and our own consciousness of the presence of the physical world around us implies the necessity of a universal intelligence which coordinates everything into one complete unity. This means that there must be a universal standard of reality, which we do not set, but which we may discover. One of the first discoveries we make is that living in a mechanical world, we are still spontaneous individualities. Yeah, he's trying to wrap this up. He's trying to give you a short paragraph on every single chapter. Here, this is what I believe. The physical universe is always mechanical. The spirit is always spontaneous. But because the spirit is a unity, it can never do anything that would contradict its own nature. That's why we say we have to be in alignment with spirit for it to work for us. Into this world, we project an idea of ourselves as personalities. Since this action is spontaneous, but at the same time subject to the reaction of the mechanics of the universe, we may or may not be reflecting freedom, happiness, and apparent wholeness into the law. Personality is bound in its objective form only to the mechanical laws. This is necessary, else there could be no self-expression. The way personality uses these mechanical laws, whether consciously or unconsciously, depends upon a realization of its right relationship to God, people, and the universe. In other words, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? Do you know who you come from? The chief characteristics of the subjective law is that it is sensitive, creative, and can reason only from a deductive viewpoint. Being the very essence of sensitiveness, it is compelled to receive the slightest impression of thought. Being creative, it is compelled to act upon this thought, and being deductive, It cannot argue back or deny any use of it that may be made. In other words, you're going to get what you ask for, whether you ask for it on purpose or not. Okay? The good news is not every thought is creative, because, every one of us has those thoughts that every now and again we look at and go, oh my God. So, the law cannot judge. The law cannot look at what you were asking for and say, that's not good for you. The law is just simply going to provide you what you ask for. So if your life doesn't look the way you want it to look, you need to go back and look at what you're asking for. Unconsciously, especially. I mean, sometimes we consciously ask for things that we don't want because we're told that we should want them. And it's like, but if that's not who you are, then don't ask for what you don't want. All right. If someone should ask whether or not God has any real intention for them, the answer would be that the only intention God could have if the person is an individual, would be to let the individual alone to discover themselves. To this discovery of the self, the person impresses the law, which is sensitive, creative, and can deduce only with the images of their own belief about themselves. And the law creates a form around those images. In other words, there's no fate, there's no destiny. All God wants is for you to express. That's it. The expression's up to you. Other than the instinctive and automatic actions of the physical body, the law knows about us only that which we know about ourselves. Now, I've heard that line before. I probably highlighted it the last time, and I still think it's extremely important. The law. Not God, not spirit, the law, okay? Therefore, it makes all the difference in the world what we are impressing upon the law as being true about ourselves. For if we think poverty and lack, we are certainly creating them and causing them to be projected into our experience. If, on the other hand, we think abundance, then the law will as easily and willingly create abundance for us. It is all so simple that it seems unbelievable. But for the average person who has no knowledge of the law, their only use of it will be a reference of what the consensus of human opinion believes must take place in the life of the majority of individuals who may happen to be living at any time on this earth. What he calls race consciousness. The savage thinks after the mode of... Oh, Ernest, really? Okay. I'm not going to use the word savage. Let me go back and reread that line. The person thinks after the mode of their tribe, and the more civilized think after the mold of racial belief. I'm still not happy with that line. But, point being, we can get caught up in what Ernest calls the race consciousness. There's a whole lot of things that a lot of people believe that don't have to be true. And yet they are true with the lowercase t because we believe them. So we talk when I was like, if you look around your life and you don't like what you see, what are you thinking into the law? But it also comes back to relationship. We are in relationship with every other living being in the world. And those living beings have thoughts and feelings of their own. And so, it's not all your fault. It's not all your fault. There are people out there who are deliberately misusing the law and know that they're misusing it. And they continue to do it, but the racial consciousness, the human consciousness says that they can do that and get away with it. They only can get away with it to a point, but you know what I mean. So, what we have to do is each of us needs to heal our own consciousness and be conscious of what we are thinking into that human consciousness. And eventually we'll clear the buck out of the pool. All right. To assert our individuality is to rise above the law of averages into that more highly specialized use of the law, which brings freedom rather than bondage, joy in the place of grief, and wholeness instead of sickness. We cannot do this unless we are first willing to judge not according to appearances. In this judging not according to appearances, we are impressing the law with a new idea of ourselves, a less limited idea, and we are learning to think independently of any existing circumstances. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. Judging not by appearances means to ignore the conditions and accept that there is something greater than the conditions. Don't get caught up in the conditions. All right, I'm about to give up on this. Partly because I'm hungry and partly because I got to get ready to go. And partly because he's getting kind of intense and oh my God, there's a lot of lemon in that. Oh. All right. We're going to finish. There's one more paragraph on here and then the paragraph that ends on the next line. Cool. The next page. All right. We may be sure that the whole aim of evolution is to produce immeasurable selves, which are all consciously centered in the universal self. The individual I is a complement to the universal I am. And any method that would seek to erase or to obliterate this individual I must be based upon a false philosophy. But the spirit is greater than I. This must never be overlooked, for all further evolution of the individual will depend upon their conscious cooperation with the law and with the spirit. The spirit is greater than any particular use of the law of cause and effect. Your guess is as good as mine, okay? That's one of those paragraphs I'm going to go away and think about. But basically, it's a reminder that we are the parts, spirit is the whole, spirit is greater than the sum of the parts. Okay? If we believe that as isolated personalities, we are able to heal through the mental and spiritual methods, we shall be likely to fall into the error that it is human will that accomplishes the desired good. And perhaps our human willpower will someday tell us that it no longer has the strength to keep on working, that it is tired, or that it is no longer has the inspiration to continue. It is evident that we must not allow ourselves to think this way if we wish to accomplish anything worthwhile. I came to this realization a few years ago where I kind of went, oh, not my will, but thy will be done. And that what it came down to was, it's not my willpower. It is not my willpower that gets things done. It is when I lean into the will of God. And that's not saying that God has this specific laid out plan that I have to follow, that spirit, because spirit doesn't work like that. All spirit cares about is that I am expressing. So there's not this grand plan and I can't get off track. It's like there was I don't know who she is, but she was saying, you can't get your life wrong because there's no right for your life. There's no right way to do your life. The only way to do your life is the way you do your life. And so not my will, but thy will be done is a reminder that when I need to accomplish something, when I have something that I want to get done, it's not my willpower that will do it. That I lean into Spirit's power to do it. Not my will, but thy will be done. Because my will can only do so much. But Spirit's will, well, that can move mountains. And that's the power that I need to lean into to do that. Okay, so in theory, we are going to finish chapter 24 tomorrow, which will be interesting because then we're going to lean into all of his Bible teachings, which should be really interesting. I don't have a problem with the Bible, just like I don't have a problem with God. I think that the Bible is an amazing library of books. What I have a problem with is what people have done with the Bible. And how people have used the Bible to abuse each other and themselves. So, we'll get into that and see what that looks like. All right. So just quick housekeeping, because I do need to wrap this up and go get something to eat so that I can get to the center for the service. Oh, which reminds me. Okay. And here it is, the housekeeping. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark on the social medias, and I am the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. So what I would encourage you to do is to engage with our social media. It is an easy way to support the center. Go like, share, subscribe, follow, comment, do all that. It bumps us in the algorithms, and we think that we have good stuff to share that might help people. It's our whole goal here. It's our whole goal here. It's like, we would like you to turn around and see the light instead of watching the shadows on the wall, which is a reference to Plato's The Cave. If you haven't read it, please do. It's enlightening. All right. There are two ways to get more information about the center. One of them is to get go to the website, creativelife.org. The other is the constant contact email, which is info@creativelife.org. That will get you on the constant contact. You get one email a week unless something unusual happens. And then that will take you to, I don't know what I was about to say. The hot links are hot in the email. Okay, there we go. Yeah. And now I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, wondrous day, fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day. A Sunday, a dance in the rain day, a stay out of the high water day, a enjoy the cooler weather because it's not gonna last much longer, a get ready for next week day, a remember that life is an adventure day, a it'll all be okay in the end day, a good day, and if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough, just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are spirit in motion, God in action, a brilliant light, a divine spark, or as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right, beloveds. I'm going to move into the process of my day, but I'm going to remind you, Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. with you. We will have an amazing service for you right here on Facebook Live at 11. So if you're watching this on Facebook Live, scroll up one video. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, go to the Creative Life Spiritual Center Facebook page or YouTube channel. You can see the Sunday service. And I'll be back with you around 9 a.m. tomorrow. And we may actually finish chapter 24. It only took, 9 days? Almost 2 weeks. Business days, All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.